What's up, dudes? Um, yeah, looks like everything is working tonight. I think I finally got this little setup dialed. So, YouTube always tells me the stream health isn't set up right, and I did some research today, and I think that's one thing I need to do a little better with my broadcasting software. I think I need to get into the settings, and there's ways to align it with how strong your internet signal is and all that. So that'll be my next step, hopefully for Tuesday. And it'll really be important to get that dialed because Tuesday I really do want to get back downstairs into the shop and work on bikes again. I know I said I was probably going to do that tonight, but I've been working on videos for other projects, and I worked on a new video that will be coming out tomorrow morning. So just got too busy to get back in and get myself all set up down there. I still want to get my Wi-Fi signal figured out down there and everything. No, the pants policy here hasn't changed. As long as you're not on camera, you don't need to have pants on. I'm actually not wearing. I can't get my leg that high. I'm wearing actually riding tights, even though I didn't ride tonight. But not something I would ever show on camera or even in person. I always wear over shorts. But so you going popcorn instead of beer tonight? I actually have a Festivus from Market Garden up in Cleveland. I put my lights up tonight. Turn off the UC. I didn't even think I was going to do it this year. I have like some little ornaments and stuff over here. Little, oh, Moscow Mule, huh? And I don't know. I bet a lot of people aren't feeling festive. I haven't been feeling festive. And then last night I was down in Lock 4 and Lock 3 in downtown Akron shooting the lights and the whole setup for Downtown Akron Partnership and the Civic Theater. Oh, breakfast outs, nice. And then I I really had to go to the restroom, and I was waiting for the sun to set to get some light shots I wanted before sunset and after. And I walked into a bar and picked up Masthead, another Cleveland breweries, their Christmas ale, but it's not a Christmas ale. It's an IPA with spruce tips, which I really like. First time I ever had spruce tips in a beer was in New York City years ago. But yeah, it works out really well. So I kind of like those alternative Christmas ales. But yeah, then I was down there shooting and the Christmas music's on and the lights were on. It was snowy. And then today I was like, I put on my music and I actually threw the lights up on my little camera setup over here. So yeah, and I have a traditional beer that I drink when I set up the lights, but I couldn't find it. And I haven't been going out to the stores much either, but I stopped at the Giant Eagle where I kind of shop sometimes. And then today on my way home, I stopped at Acme, and they didn't have it. And Acme, the one I used to shop at, has it. And I have my special glass. I'll show that after I pour my beer. But it is Corsendonk's Christmas Ale, Belgian brewery. So this is the Festivus, but the beer I usually drink is Corsendonk. Um, Yeah, so I drink Corsendonk, and then I listen to Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers' Christmas album. Uh, I can't think of the name. Well, I closed it out. But tradition I started years and years ago with an ex, and I've just kind of kept it going myself because it's just kind of the fun thing is I'm putting up the lights to drink the Corsendonk and listen to this ridiculous, ridiculous Dolly Parton record. So, yeah, unfortunately, don't have the right beer, but still had to go Christmas. I don't drink Christmas ales that much anymore. I used to be all about them. The girlfriend I was just talking about, we would seek all of them out. The first video on this YouTube channel is us reviewing. You have that on vinyl. Nice. Her dad did, and that's why it was our tradition. Her dad had that record, and I think her sister still has it because I remember being over there once, and she showed it to us. I listened to it now, and I was so glad I found it on the streaming service. For a couple years, we used to listen to it on YouTube, but yeah, it kind of. Oh, that's what I said. Took a break from the Christmas ales because they just haven't been doing it for me as much. They're so sweet; they almost taste like cola to me now. But yeah, yes, that's what I said. In the first review or the first video on this channel, or the first where I tried to actually set up like something like this, we were at West Point Market in West Akron, and there was a beer, and it was really expensive, and we're like, oh, let's splurge, and then let's try that. She was like, let's try that review thing you were talking about. Let's review the beer. It turned out to be a Jolly Pumpkin, their Noel de Calabaza, and we didn't know anything about sour beer at the time. And by anything, we didn't even know it existed. So we get this beer, we crack it open, we've never tried it, and we record this review where we're like, there's something wrong with this beer must have gone bad, and it's actually just a barrel-aged sour by Jolly Pumpkin, which is something I really like now, but at the time, we were like so confused. Don't go back and watch that, but I have never deleted those, so it's actually still on here. The, the quality is horrible, the audio is horrible, our review is horrible, so, but yeah, I think I brought this up on Tuesday, that's how I kind of started to learn how to do video, and you could see the progression go real quick. The first one, I didn't even have any editing software. Hey, how's it going? Cheers. So yeah, that was an interesting thing, but yeah, anyways, so Course and Donk has always been my putting the lights up drink, couldn't find it, but, and then the Christmas ale thing, what I was saying is I just don't ever buy it anymore. I'm usually, when I'm out, I'll have a couple just to get that, get a Great Lakes at a bar somewhere, or if I'm actually up in Cleveland at the brewery, or Thirsty Dog, and now that I really won't be going out, I decided I would get a 6-pack of something, and the Festivus is a little less intense in my opinion, a little less spicy. It's also a lighter colored, I think Great Lakes and Thirsty Dogs are much darker. So, and they use brown sugar instead of honey. For an Ohio Christmas ale, honey would be the traditional way to sweeten it. That's the other reason I haven't drank them as much lately, drinking them, whatever, is just they're pretty sweet, so they're hard to drink more than a couple. But yeah. Anyway, so I guess I got myself in finally the holiday spirit, and we talked about the snow on Tuesday too, but snow's still on the ground here. It was really cold last night, down to mid-20s, I think. I love that you have that Dolly Parton record on vinyl. I think Christmas Without You is my favorite song on that record, but there's a few that are, just hilarious. Hilariously good. Let me check in with let me throw up my YouTube. Cool, yeah. Everything seems to be going smooth. Anyways, I did end up, we talked a little bit about the drone. I crashed my Mavic. Last night when I was out shooting photos downtown Akron, the reason I got there before sunset, because they were going to be of the lights and the whole setup at Lock 3, and they have all these store windows set up. Elvis and Sinatra. Yeah, there's a couple good Christmas albums too. My new favorite Christmas album actually is well, it's not new, it's a few years old, but Casey Musgraves. If you ever listen to that one that has Willie Nice Christmas on it, that's one of that song and Ribbons and Bows. I always end up getting a little buzzed and dancing like crazy to that one. And then her ridiculous Christmas special last year. If you happen to see that, I'm sure they'll play it again. But yeah, so I filmed the other side of, I showed the mural video in the wrong resolution last week, or on Tuesday, I keep saying last week. But yeah, I went down and tried out the new drone again, and it is like amazing now that I've got to fly it one more time. I absolutely was blown away, and I took some stills too and then edited them, and I'm like, it's like editing photos from a real camera, or better than my early camera. Twisted Sister actually did one. It's sort of amazing. I should delve more into the genre of Christmas music because I like it. I've never worked retail, so I know why people who have worked retail or like restaurants where they play it all the time just hate Christmas music. I never did, so it's like I wait till like December and listen to it for like a month, and not even all the time. Like there's a couple things I play, like I said, the Casey Musgraves, the Ramones. What's the name of that awesome Ramones Christmas song? It's eluding me right now, but I usually would put that on tonight too. And Yeah, a couple things like that, like the Dolly Parton one I love to play, and then just the standards. I've always I've always thought the who sings the original version of "I'll Be Home for Christmas" is that Burl Ives, but I always thought that's such a great like song, like probably one of the most depressing, brutal songs ever. When you realize at the end it's kind of written during World War II, and it's like even only in my dreams. Like I always think of that like being a soldier and trying to imagine Christmas and all that kind of thing. This year, you know, not soldiers, but it's going to be the same thing for a lot of us, not getting to get together and see everyone. Trying to think of some other. There is a couple offbeat Christmas songs I really like. Nothing I have not heard the Twisted Sisters, but oh yeah, the Ramones one is "Merry Christmas, I Don't Want to Fight Tonight," and the video is awesome too. But I think the guy acting in the video is like their one of their managers or something. I can't remember, but if you haven't seen that video, look that up on YouTube too. It's great. Yeah, I know it's hard to. I was talking about the drone thing. It's possible to evaluate what stuff looks like over a live stream that's already coming in average quality to show how good something looks. But Dropkick Murphys, I don't think I've heard their Christmas stuff. The season's upon us. Huh. But I am going to throw up that Lock 4 video I shot last night just to, anyways, yeah, it's just kind of cool. Yeah, so like I said, you can't tell the quality on a live stream of how good that is. But the other thing about that drone is how smooth it flies and how much better it even flies than the original Mavic. I have them both. They're almost identical in size. The new one's a little bit bigger, but you could see that camera module is way bigger on the new one. But yeah, they have it like out of the box. It was much more optimized because this isn't like FPV flying or something. Like you want it to look cinematic and slow, where you're not really noticing the movement, and it does that right away. But then, if you hit the stick all the way, the fact that that drone hits 45 miles an hour is also insane. Can't remember if I talked about this on Tuesday, but when I just flew it out here for a test flight and out over the gorge, when I flew it back. I couldn't figure out where I'm looking up at the sky, like where is it? But it's so fast that I'd overshot the studio by like 5 blocks. I had to look at the little map to figure out. I'm like, oh, I'm so used to the speed of the other one. This thing just, crazy. So yeah, the sticks are nice and slowly responsive if you move them a little bit, but then if you want to lay on it, the thing will just take off. So yeah, just huge upgrade. And I wouldn't have done it unless I had crashed the other one. So, but almost makes me kind of glad I did because, yeah, show the photos up there. So again, I know it's a stream, but if you zoom in here and with the loop to 100%, yeah, I mean. That's the 100% crop. I mean, that is. And this is an edited photo too, where I've bumped up, so you can see there's a tiny bit of noise, but I've bumped up the shadows because I'm shooting into the sun, basically. Problem with this mural is it's never in the light. He said you never got into the drone thing. They have like that. Their newest one that just came out, DJI, and DJI is pretty much the only game in town. I've seen people review the other brands, and if you're not at the $50,000 level, if you're at the prosumer pro level. DJI is really the only name in drones, but they put out that new version of the Air that is like $500-600, and I think it would probably be quality wise now better than this one. It's even smaller, completely pocketable. I can't think of what they named the naming thing was, but it would definitely be a way to get into it at a low cost of entry. You know, like the one I have for actually doing professional cinematic work and how great the photos are, I think are worth it. But you know, if you were just gonna wanted to do one to get some like cool shots and some cool videos that you would be on Instagram and stuff like that, I would totally go that route. Well, I'm trying to think of what they call that one. Is it the Mavic Air 2? It's their latest, and I watched the reviews, and it's pretty incredible in its own right. And then they did a cool thing where they made the weight of the drone come in right under what you have to register with the almost every major government, Western government. So mine, I actually realized I hadn't done that yet. So you see on the old drone, I actually have my FAA registration number written right on it. But I have not registered the new one, and that hit me last night when I was out flying. I need to do that. You know, no one local is going to bust you, but all your flight records are public, and the government can see them, so they could see that I've been flying without my drone being registered. I could get fined thousands of dollars. Also, technically, you need a license if you're going to make money on flying. Last winter I studied a bunch for that test, and then I didn't end up taking it, and it's something I need to do, and it's something that's on my radar to do. I use so little drone footage in my paid work that kind of getting by on it. If I did a lot of real estate work or stuff like that, I would definitely get my license. This test is intense, though. It's not just like your written driver's test. This is pretty much the written test you need to be a pilot. You need to know what runway code means. You need to know how to listen to weather radio. It's intense. It's a lot of stuff, and it's like one of those things where I need to block out a week, like 2 hours a night study, and then just take it the next week while it's all fresh in my mind. I guess the concept is they just want you to really have a respect for flying. I set up my drone so I can't, pretty much can't break the law with it. I set it so you can't fly above the legal ceiling in the United States. And so it tops out, it just stops going up, and it warns me. It's like you've hit maximum altitude. The other thing is you can't fly out of your line of sight. You know, that's obviously going to be different, but I have a limit on how far I'll let it go, basically. So I just don't even worry about that. But yeah, that's the rules for flying in the US. I think it's 300 feet high, and then you have to have a line of sight on your drone at all times. Yeah, that's one. I've definitely gone behind places where I couldn't see it and stuff like that, but you know, been being careful when I do that. So the other thing I think I was saying with drone video, you know, there's such a wow factor when people see drone video, even if it's thrown in for a title screen or just a quick shot, or even when my bike riding videos to all of a sudden have it following us. That with the old drone, the quality of the video, even though it wasn't amazing, it still shot 4K, and I could, you know, color grade it a little bit, and it looked pretty decent, and I could blend it in with, you know, what I'm shooting from a GoPro and all that. So it was good enough. But the thing is, being a photographer and getting like the photos, and with the old drone, like I would try and do a lot to like bump up the contrast and all this stuff. They came out very flat, even in the raw. Even when I tried to bump up the raw, it feels like I was running out of leeway. And editing the photos today, it was just totally a different, like, yeah, here's like the city. But I had one that kind of showed, where was that? Oh yeah, so I was able to, you know, sunset, high contrast scene, some stuff's in the shade, some stuff's in the sunlight. But then look here when I zoom it at 100%, how you could see those letters. So I was pretty amazed with that kind of quality. So it's a 20 megapixel camera, so it is decent resolution. You know, more resolution than my first two DSLRs, but smaller. I'm not sure how big the sensor is, but when I zoom around here and look and see what you could actually read, and then, like I said, the dynamic range, the leeway I had to push the colors different ways was just pretty amazing. And yeah, that's that. It's a camera they developed with Hasselblad, which is pretty cool. I have the cover on, so there's a lot of glare there. But oh yeah, and then the other. So this is with the old drone, but since I accidentally played the 4K one last week, I did. Like, and again, this will just show you how it doesn't matter the resolution for video as much because it just is kind of so cool. But this is the collaboration I did with Wheezy on the other side of the building. She had painted the mural, and the Civic Theater where that's painted on had me come down to shoot her portraits in front of it. And she turned out to be like the coolest, nicest person. And she asked the Civic if she could get up on the roof and if we could do drone shots of that. So yeah, let me show that in like the right resolution real quick. Yeah, so pretty cool. Like I said over the live stream, I don't think anyone would be able to tell the difference, but the video I played first is, to me, way better. And if it was uploaded to UK in 4K, totally noticeable. You could, oh yeah, when it's not cropped in, yeah, you can actually see the what's going on there. But yeah, so pretty cool. I'm pretty happy about that. And like I said, there's been a number of times where people are like, oh, you have a drone, and then I've been hired by people who would not have hired me otherwise, or I don't know, it gave me a leg up and maybe over the other people they were talking to. I'm going to do some next week. I just scheduled it. I'd have to look at my phone, but I'm using that for the chat. It doesn't matter. Metro, the public transit here in Akron and Summit County, hired me for some videos, but when they were talking about like what they wanted to show, and basically it's like COVID type stuff, like how to ride the bus during these crazy times. Yes, we're still open. Yes, we're still taking people to work. But that was one of the things. They're like, do you have a drone? Because we would really like to show where we moved a couple of the central locations to get on the bus. And I'd say yes. I think it's, yeah, maybe they're going to hire me anyways. I don't know. But it was, you could tell that was something they were very excited about. So as a professional, I think it's indispensable to have one if you do videography. I used to fake like drone type stuff by putting my GoPro on the end of my hiking stick and holding it out and doing some of that kind of stuff. I'm really interested to see the active tracking though. So I've done a couple videos on YouTube where I have the drones just following me and I'm not even flying it. I just basically draw a box around. I did one with me and Ben from Dirty River, draw a box around us, and it follows us. And the really cool perspective to do is sideways. So it's almost like it would be on a rail, like an old camera rail. So, and it just flies along like that. And it's even cooler than the follow behind or anything. So I'll be really excited to see how it works, because the old one would lose us sometimes. We'd look back and it would just not be moving, So it'd be really cool if this one, yeah, I know it's a whole upgraded, whatever, active track 2.0, whatever. So it'd be really cool if it really locks on and can follow much better. And then there's also patterns you could do. You could do like where it's circling you, but keeping the camera on you and stuff like that. So I'm excited to try that. I don't know when I'll get the chance. Depends. Well, I know a couple of you are from Ohio, but we just never know what our winter is going to be like. It flies in it can fly in the cold. They say not to fly it in the damp. So I've never actually put it up when there's snow or rain. definitely wouldn't do it in the rain. Maybe some snow for a quick thing, but again, it's such a weird feeling, especially when I got the first drone, because yeah, I mean, you're just sending like $1,000 into the sky. You're like, it's it's uncomfortable the first couple times. The drones are pretty cool though. What DJI does, they actually have a I don't know if they call it beginner mode or what, but it's something like that. And when you first enable it, it like automatically puts you into that unless you like check some boxes. With the new one, I checked out of it all because I needed to go and do it, but I left it in the beginner mode for the first one. It just kind of, it really limits the speed and how far it can go and like makes it, you know, much easier to control. And they have something similar for flying indoors, which is called tripod mode, which just kind of really limits the movement. And you need to do that if you're ever going to fly them indoors, because if not, you'll crash it without the GPS. The GPS is so important to the way these things fly. It's amazing. I know I've told this story before, but I was taking some drone footage of an event in Summit Lake here in Akron, and all of a sudden, I was also covering the event with my regular camera. The important people started speaking, and I didn't realize that was about to happen. And with the drone, what I did is I just sent it up so you couldn't hear it high enough so it couldn't be heard, and then I didn't have to worry about it. Even though it's a windy day over this lake and all that, the drone, because the GPS will just sit there and it'll fight the wind and not move. And so long as I have enough battery power, I didn't have to worry about it. And so it was just up there flying while I was taking photos with my DSLR, and yeah. Then when they were done speaking, I brought the thing back down. So the other reason you always need to have a few batteries for these things, because I think the new one says it'll do like 30 minutes, depending, in the lab test. The old one did 20 something, 25, but you definitely want a few batteries for these. That also sounds like a short amount of time, but it's not, because when you think about how much footage you really need, no one wants to watch 10, 20 minutes of something flying around. You're only going to be cutting in little bits. And if you watch my YouTube video, I like quick cuts anyways. I don't do long extended scenes of pretty much anything. I've done a few time-lapse videos, but I think that kind of thing is boring. I definitely heavily influenced by when I saw Decline and the way he cuts. That's kind of how I cut too. Yeah, and like you said, that's shorter than you thought, but I mean, look at that. And the battery on the new one's pretty big, but think of how how much, when it's above you, you just feel how much like wind is coming down, and then how much electronics must be going on in there too. I'm sure the motors are taking up most of the power, but yeah, it's, tiny little camera flying in the air, it's got to be using a ton of power to do that. And that's why this top speed is an important thing too, because if you want your shot to be somewhere farther away from where you're standing, or if you need to get multiple shots, the fact that the new one is so much faster at 45 miles an hour, you could get around and get the shots you need pretty quick. But I bet people who do a lot of drone work, they're probably carrying, 5, 6 batteries. For anything I've ever done, I just don't need that much, because like I said, it's usually like a title screen or something like that. Or, even say I made my living on YouTube. Even think of like, I don't know if you guys watch whoever, Casey Neistat or whatever. He always uses drones. But again, there's probably in a 5-minute video, 30 seconds of drone footage. It's not something, you don't want to abuse it. It's that George Lucas mentality of just because you have gone to the lengths to set all this up, or you have this, you don't want to beat people over the head with it. You use what's the right amount. Pretty nerdy cinematographer talk, right? I was also talking last week, and I saw this a video I did for United Way, and I saw they ended up sharing it on social media. So I thought I'd play it tonight too, just to kind of show what I actually do, like for clients. And I've been saying how since the pandemic hit, like being a still photographer is what I always wanted to do and how I've mostly made my living. But probably up until 2019, before this all hit, 60% of my revenue, I would say, was events. And then so in March, when every single event got cut, the video work really ramped up. I'd already been doing video work, but it was for clients I already did stills for, and they would request it and I would do it. But it really, really ramped up. And the interesting, video is nice because I could charge more, but the other thing is after being on site, it's so much more time consuming. So being that I do the audio separately, I actually use a recorder I'm using to run the sound right now. And so I have to go through and sync everything. So this video I did for United Way, they had a script, and then they had every big shot who supports United Way in town, like the president of the hospital and, all this, important industry people in Akron come in a couple different locations. And I recorded them basically each saying part of this script. And then I had to cut this whole narrative together. And this edit isn't amazing because I was able to cut it together. I think any editor who is worth anything could do that. But it's just the tediousness of going through, syncing every single audio thing, and then going back and cutting it together, and then putting your color grade and all that kind of stuff on there. And so I just thought it's, a lot of clients don't realize how time consuming video is. And then when they come back to you and ask you for a couple changes, how that means you also have to go back and render, no matter how small the changes, the whole video needs to be re-rendered and re-uploaded so they could see it. And just, that kind of stuff. So I just thought I'd show a little bit of what I do for my professional work on here. The other thing is we actually did 2 videos. So we had him read this part of the script, but then we interviewed him. And so the interviews with the people went anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. But the video I was making from the interview was only going to be 3 minutes. So to have like 20 people do 5 minutes, that's where the actual magic of editing comes in to get stuff short. To make long videos is easy. I wouldn't say to make a movie is easy, but if I'm going to make a long video for a corporate or a nonprofit client, that's fine. If I just need to throw everything in there, then it is just the syncing and some of the tedious work. But then, you let it run long. But it's when you're trying to you're like, how do I get the key points? How do I take just like I have an hour of footage and I need it to be 3 minutes? And I think that's what my skill is. That's what I'm charging people for, right? Learning the technical stuff is the stuff you just got to do to be in business. But learning the edits is why I make YouTube videos. That's why, to be quick at using Premiere, to be able to take, a bike ride where I might have been out for all day, like our Century rides, but then make a cool 3-minute video out of it. That's where I think there's a skill level involved. Anyone could put a GoPro on their bike and just let it run and throw that on YouTube. It's make some kind of interesting narrative out of, 100 miles of towpath trail, a bike trail. Anyways, this is the United Way video where they read the script just for the heck of it to show it.
We cannot build a better future for our community
unless we build it together.
Unless we build it together.
When the coronavirus pandemic began,
United Way joined with other community organizations.
Together they raised more than $1.5 million.
When businesses were shutting down
and residents were losing their jobs,
United Way continued, serving clients
24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
In the weeks following Ohio's first COVID-19 case,
calls for food assistance soared.
So United Way worked with local food bank
and National Food Delivery Company.
Together, they delivered more than 700,000 pounds of food to at-risk residents.
Doctors and first responders were running out of personal protective equipment. United Way helped public health officials collect donations of desperately needed masks and gloves for those risking their lives to fight this pandemic.
It was so critical early on because there was such a shortage.
As local residents faced lost jobs and reduced hours,
United Way partnered with the County of Summit to distribute $12 million of utility, rent, and mortgage assistance through the CARES Act.
United Way did all this and more. In our time of need, United Way of Summit and Medina was there for our community.
Answering calls for help, raising money for struggling families, coordinating an immediate response to a once-in-a-century crisis.
This is why I support United Way of Summit and Medina.
We are your United Way.
That last scene with everybody on at the same time nearly killed my computer. The other thing is the guy, Ken Babby, one of the guys on there, he owns the Akron Rubber Ducks. and he was down. He owns two teams. He was in his other place. I think it's in Florida. And they sent me footage, and they must have shot like some 8K crazy footage. And when I went to put that in the timeline, it just like crashed everything. I had to render it out and then put it back in. It was pretty intense. I'm like, man, this guy hired a serious videography for this stuff. Oh, hey, what's up? I see the lanky cyclist said George Lucas killed Indiana Jones. Did he? You need to elaborate. Was that did the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? Did Lucas make that one? Because that's when Indiana Jones got kind of killed. I watched that one night, but that's back when I still smoked pot, and I was probably drunk too. So I've never really watched. I don't have a clear memory of it, but I remember being way too over the top. But the first three, I love. I even like Temple of Doom. I mean, I just grew up loving Temple of Doom. So now, with my perspective of knowing how kind of ridiculous that movie is, I still dig it. Oh yeah, Kingdom Skull, Kingdom of the What was that? Yeah, that whole ending. It was like the aliens and the. You can get on board with Crystal Skull? You're into Crystal Skull, or is that a typo there? Or on board with what Lanky Cyclist said. By the way, I actually don't. I don't know your first name, so I have to call you Lanky Cyclist. I can't remember, even though I just watched the one of your videos today on your series of riding the towpath with your daughter, and I watched the Big Bend to the Mustell Store one, which is like the Hickory Detour. That's like my home roads. So I'm in Cuyahoga Falls here on State Road, but I come down to the dog park on Memorial, and that section is how I go into Akron all the time when I don't want to be out on Howard and Main Street. That's if I'm not in a hurry, that's the way I go. So it was cool to watch that. And by the way, that detour is almost done. So the pavement is in for the towpath to get rid of the detour up and over Hickory. So it's just a matter of time. They said by the end of the month in November, the fences are still up, but we'll see. I think any time now that, I don't mind climbing a hill. I climb hills all the time living where I live. I always have to go through the Cuyahoga Valley to get anywhere. But there's some days where it's like, man, I just want to be out of traffic and get downtown without climbing. It's been there for so long. It's been, 4 or 5 years? I've almost forgotten about that section of towpath, even though it's one of my most common rides. It's a really cool spot. You ride right through one of the locks now, because it's not watered in the canal down there, because the canal is into the Little Cuyahoga River. But by spring we won't be doing the Hickory Detour anymore. And on Tuesday, I went out for was it Tuesday or snow ride, and then coming down Hickory with my studded tires, but they don't plow it because it's blocked off from traffic. And I was fine, and the traction was fine, but coming down a crazy descent, I was thinking that night how much better it'd be just to be on the towpath, So I'm excited for that. I think everyone is, especially if you ever look at the Ohio to Erie and towpath group on Facebook, people are always talking about it. But yeah, it's paved. It's almost there. It looks like they even cleared off so coming from the north, the limestone part, looks like the weeds are gone and all that. Because I've gone back through there even when it's been closed. Once you come on the sewer project, you can't get through. So. And then in downtown Akron too, where you detour it's not really a detour, but they changed the arc of the path around 69 Taps and all that, where actually they put in the boring machine is all the fences are gone. And I almost forgot what it looked like around there, the little area. The towpath used to kind of jut out back along the canal. And now for a long time, it's kind of go around this construction site. And they tell you the detour's out onto Main Street, but you've never actually had to do that. But I've helped so many cyclists in downtown Akron who have tried to follow that detour and end up out on Main Street. So it'll be good that other little part is done. Oh yeah, the Bolivar, because you had to go on that kind of busy road down there in Bolivar, and now they are finishing that section. And then also where you go by that big dam, I've ridden that on my own anyways. I asked Dan Rice, who is I don't know what his actual title is the CEO of the Ohio and Erie Canalway Coalition. So they're basically Summit County all the way to New Philadelphia. They kind of are the conveners for taking care of the towpath. About riding out there in Bolivar by the dam and all that, and as you get down by New Philly, if that's technically allowed, what is that, Zor? And all that stuff? If you're allowed to be riding there, because it's not, it feels like you're on private property. And he said it's like up in the air, but they are finishing it. But, oh, the roads, yeah. So yeah, into New Philly, they're going to start on too, which they will not go on the actual towpath route. It's going to be an old train line route. And it's the guy who owns one of the big, it's not Waste Management, but it's a company like Waste Management. They convinced him to let him get a lease through his property. The Bolivar section where you go out on the road is pretty short. We actually camped at a hip camp down there. What does he call it? The Peace Park. Me and Ben. So I know that's where the old aqueduct is. You have to go over. That's like the Bolivar part, and then going through Bolivar is weird too, because it's just like the sidewalk basically for a while, because it's right through the city. But towpath talk, nerdy towpath talk. But that's, I mean, I spend a lot of my time doing that. Like I said, this Hickory detour in Akron, it's one of these where you have to go up the hill just to come right back down. So there's no, like, you're not gaining the elevation. You still have to then climb up into Akron. So it's always been one of those where if you're just not feeling it, you're like, this isn't even getting me anywhere. You know, where a climb gets you somewhere, like getting into Akron makes sense. But this is one that you're just detouring out of the little Cuyahoga Valley and then right back in. Got a few people in here. Anyone else drinking anything interesting? I've been surprised that I haven't been able to find as many. I feel like this time of year there should be a ton of stouts, and it's kind of what I've started to be in the mood for, and I just haven't been able to find that many decent or like seasonal like stouts around. Bullet bourbon. You drinking that straight? I'm a big Bullet bourbon fan. A lot of people like the rye, but I've never been as big of a rye fan. I like true bourbon. I don't know. I used to joke that I was a sweet corn farmer for 10 years, so I like corn-based booze. You know, I don't know if that's true at all, but. You're a Bullet rye guy? Of course. Yeah. Even rye beer, like they'll make like a rye IPA. Whistle Pig. I've had Whistle Pig too. Yeah. Oh, so just some Bullet on the rocks. Nice. I drink bourbon on the rocks is like, if I'm not drinking beer, that would be or if I'm drinking liquor, that's the way I would go. And Whistle Pig. I know I've had that. There's one in Cleveland I really like. What is their name? At first they would, because bourbon has to be 9 years age. They were just doing moonshine, so white whiskey, and it was really good. And it was all copper pot distilled, and I loved it. And then now they actually have the bourbon out, and my friend bought a bottle, but he unfortunately left it here, and he hadn't even opened it, so he's never tasted it, and he's never going to taste that bottle because it's gone. My friend Brad, he's in a lot of my videos, but what is the name of that Cleveland distillery that I really like? And it's not Cleveland whiskey. They're the ones who like fast age it by pressing it through something with wood. This is true bourbon. Tomfoolery. I used to drink a lot more bourbon. Lately I think since the pandemic, I just haven't been keeping booze around here as much because I'm just going to drink it. Cape May Brewing, always ready hazy pale. Huh. Not sure I know Cape May. definitely like hazies. That's usually what I've been drinking while I've been streaming. Cape May Brewing. Let's look them up, right? New Jersey. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, on the rocks is the Lazy's Man cocktail, right? Let that ice might melt a little bit in there. I do like old fashions as well too. Is Kentucky Mule just like a? It's a mule, but you would put bourbon in instead of what is? Are mules made? Moscow mules or gin, right? Moscow Mule. I'm not a huge cocktail nerd. I've gotten a little more into it as we've gotten some better cocktail bars in Akron pre-pandemic. We got a but a lot of times what I do, if I go to a good cocktail bar, I'll order off the menu or like their specials. I won't say, but a lot of times like, God, what's the place in Cleveland? And we have one here now, the Spotted Owl. Like they have like a flavor wheel and I'll just be like, I tell them, I'm like, oh, bourbon instead of vodka. Okay. I just tell them, I'm like, I like bourbon. Can you make me? And I was like, I don't like overly sweet or fruity cocktails. Like, and then I just, a good bartender at a good cocktail bar is going to make you a good drink. So that's what I always do at those kind of places. One of my riding buddies just told me to come out front. I don't think he knows I got a whole thing going on here. I wonder if he rang the doorbell because I could hear my tenants walking around upstairs now. What day of the week? It's Thursday? Because Wednesday would be our ride night, but we haven't been doing it since the pandemic. Yeah, let's see what he says. I'll throw my mask up. I've got a secondary front door right here. I don't use it. This studio is two storefronts put together. We've connected them in this center with like a really nice thing, but see if I don't have anything in the way of the door here. All right, I'll be right back. I'm back. I got it. It was worth it. So one of my riding buddies, I think I've talked about this before on here, is one of the owners and brewers at Missing Falls Brew. Oh yeah, we did. We talked about it on Tuesday. Someone asked me what my favorite Akron breweries were. He brought me a crowler from his brewery tonight, and so he said, "We finally brewed a sour." He said, "Try it out and let me know what you think." So it was worth answering the door for sure, right? How often do we get a beer delivery during a live stream? Which, now that I think about it, is my second beer delivery this week because my friend Albert, who owns Asterix Coffee Bar and Akron Coffee Roasters downtown Akron, he texted me yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. And he was like, "Are you around?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Beer delivery in 2." And I was like, "What?" So go to the door. He comes up. So do I have it sitting? No, threw the can away. But a representative from Melbourne Brewery had stopped by Asterix and gave him a couple cans of beer to try, and he told me, he's like, oh, watching your live stream on Tuesday and you were drinking a hazy, and I got a couple hazies here for you to that they gave us so you could try them out. So yeah, that was pretty rad. I do his photography too, so I was able to give him back some of the stuff I had shot for him. I shoot all his coffee bags and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, how often do you get 2 beer deliveries in 1 week? Yeah, so Bravo Zulu Sour, 5.2%. Oh yeah, canned right now. It's $9.50. Should I crack this? I mean, how big are crowlers? Erin, my girlfriend, doesn't like sour, so I don't need to hang on to this for her. Yeah, let's, why not? This channel's really getting back to its roots tonight. Should I really show you guys the what it looked like when it started? I was thinking of this. I think one of my videos, it's trendy. I think it comes from TikTok, but the how it started, how it's going type thing. I was thinking it would be cool to make a YouTube video, kind of as a year in review, but also do it in every aspect. So I could do like how it started, my early photography, how it's going from selfies to pro work to video, like the YouTube thing, to everything. I thought it'd be cool to make like a 3-minute video, like flashing between those kind of aspects of my life, you know, because it is pretty cool. I mean, it's cool to be standing here in a photography studio I own. I came across a photo the other night of the first little studio I made in my basement, you know, and it was like I was actually putting like camera flashes and shooting them through sheets to make them like soft boxes that I'd seen people have in real studios, and now it's like I have all this stuff, and it still blows my mind. I wish I could walk back and tell that younger version of myself, like, yeah, you're on the right path. It's gonna work out, you know. Yeah, I did cracked at 32 ounces. I think I gotta rinse this glass, so I don't think I could pour this sour, and this smells so spicy that it's gonna overpower this. Well, here, I'll put on that. That's the perfect thing to do, is to talk about the how it started thing, and then show you how it started. I don't know if there's volume on that, but you could see what the quality looks like. Couple idiots trying to review what they think is a Christmas beer, and it's a sour. I'm back. Oh, I got the hair long there. Got about the same level of beard right now. I'm not always bearded. I basically hate shaving. I prefer to be clean cut, but I hate shaving. So, oh, it's red. Oh, I should get this. I should test something with you guys now that there's a couple people being like actually chatting. So when I tried to play something like this before, like I obviously have the volume off, but when I tried to show a video from the internet, my mic started feeding back and there was this crazy echo. I think Ben might have been there. It was one of the early streams though. Let me kick it on real quick, and I won't leave it on for long, but if you guys are still chatting, let me know what happens if you could all of a sudden hear our audio or if everything goes berserk. So here we go.
From a barrel age.
Yeah, barrel-aged Christmas beer. I mean,
Yeah.
the description on the bottle is deep mahogany and malty, layered hops, and hints of fruit and spice. So to me, there's
None of the above except the fruit.
yeah. Sounded fine. You just heard the YouTube video. Awesome. Now I know that's no echo. Yeah, you were there for the echo craziness. Oh, good. Yeah, I thought you were, but yeah, that was. I remember it was totally insane. Yeah, it was. Yeah, like doubling up everything. I think my mic was picking up. Maybe I didn't have the speakers on. I'm not that dumb. I mean, right. Let's see what we got here. This is so I have to assume this is a kettle sour, but I'll ask Kenny after I taste it. The last few nice days I rode down and had lunch at his brewery because I could sit on the patio, but I'm trying to picture if there were any barrels back there, but it's a fruity, definitely a fruited sour. Huh. That's really good. It's actually sweet at the front of the mouth and then goes to a sour, but it doesn't taste like a bullshit kettle sour. That's the thing that I don't like. I don't like fake sours just to make them taste sour. That's not what a sour is. A sour is using it's a way of brewing to make a beer have a certain flavor. A goes, people pronounce that different. A goza is a style of sour that is salted. So it's putting salt in a sour. Then there's a couple other things. I think it's a fruited salted sour. So it's a very particular type of sour. But people use that name again with kettle sours, and traditionally that wouldn't be the case. Lanky Cyclist asked, what was wrong with the snow video? Or should I ask why you didn't like? What do you mean? Oh, actually that was, I know what you're talking about now. I was originally making a video about my Trek 4900, and I have like a series of videos about all the bikes I own. And so that was just an outtake from that video, and I didn't even plan to make a snow video. I planned to make like riding a whole like 10-minute thing where I'm talking about my Trek, and I just thought that was funny, and I just threw that little clip up there where I said like, but none of this is working out. So it was just me talking to myself in the actual long monologue of a different video, and I just did it for the heck of it, you know. But the idea was going to make it more that snow video, the last video I posted, more of a trailer for the video that comes out tomorrow, and then I just made it a riding video, and you know, I'm like, don't think people pay that much attention. Thanks. Yeah, this is good. This is strikes a good balance. I think a lot of people who kettle sour beers, they're all one note. Like I said, they're just sour. That's not how it's supposed to be. I think it became a trend, and every brewery was like, oh, we could make something that tastes sour. It's like, yeah, okay, I mean, I could go buy a pack of Sour Patch Kids too, and there's no nuance to that. There's a really good sour brewery in a place called Grand Rapids, but not the famous Grand Rapids, Michigan, Grand Rapids, Ohio, outside Toledo. And they do like all fruited sours in barrels. and they're really, really good. The video I was just showing, the Jolly Pumpkin, he actually ages a bunch of beers with, so Brettanomyces. So basically, a real sour or traditional sour is you're using Brettanomyces. You're using a bacteria instead of a yeast to ferment the beer, or you're mixed fermentation. You're letting some natural bacteria ferment along with the yeast, or even natural yeast that would be in the, where you are, or, or you could propagate it, just like you can with yeast. So that would be like and that's what Jolly Pumpkin, but he does a bunch and he puts away a bunch of barrels, and almost like someone who makes a good bourbon, they pull from different barrels to bottle, based on the flavor. We were clueless and did not know that. You feel like you would like sours, except all the ones you've tried taste like fermented lemonade. Yeah. Probably kettle sours, probably ones by less discerning brewers just trying to jump on the trend. If someone wants to taste something sour, I mean, I guess there's nothing wrong with that. Just, I mean, the actual flavor sour, not the style of beer. But to me, that's not what a sour should be. Sour is a very old school style of brewing that should be very nuanced and should have a lot going on. This is bready too. The backbone is very like a malt bready backbone. So you like, whereas if you had something that was just made to be like trendy sour flavored, you wouldn't even get any of the base beer flavor out of it because they would make it so puckering, Which I think is what you're saying. That's probably what you had. You probably had a can of like, trying to think of, what's that one brewery that makes like the blood orange one and all that stuff. Yeah, Hopping Frog here, up here in Akron, made, actually when LeBron came back, so they named it King Goza Home. And it was a really good Goza. But it's unique. You wouldn't think like salt and beer works, but I don't know. I guess the old timers, they working on a farm for so long, they put salt on their watermelon. And I remember when I first had a true Goza, I kind of got that kind of vibe from it. Yeah, wow. They did a good job. Total La Nina this winter in the mid-Atlantic. Are you in New Jersey? Is that why you're drinking New Jersey beer, obviously? But yeah, everyone, our county here just turned purple on our chart of the pandemic too, so we're in the like serious state. So one of the things that's been so great about this fall is it's been so nice. So I've been able to get out and ride my bike and be outside, and so I'd go to my friend Kenny's brewery and sit on the patio. And I'm not looking forward to, if the virus is super bad, which I think after Thanksgiving especially it's going to be, being all locked up. I mean, I'm still going to go ride my bike and all that, but I love to be able to stop in places. I too have such a thing for, like around the holidays, being in a warm bar when it's snowing like crazy outside and running into friends and having that kind of, I'm not someone who goes out that much anymore, but that experience is something that I just like. And then like as it gets close to Christmas, like old friends being back in town and that getting that text or that DM of like, hey, can you make it out tonight? I'm going to go here. And then like me being like a rock and roll guy, always having been in bands, like people put on special like shows and like the small bars that everyone shows up to see. Delaware. The only place I've been in Delaware is Rehoboth Beach, which is actually where Dogfish Head started, right? And they have a brew pub right there, their original location. That's not where their production brewery is, but isn't Rehoboth in Delaware? I think it is. You will know. You could let me know. My parents are big beach people, so all our vacations growing up were out to the East Coast, Ocean City, Maryland, but then we would pop down to different places, you know, within a couple hours, either after the week was over or even just like day trips to check out other beaches. But I still love the ocean too, but I'm also like a history nerd, so I like to do touristy, you know, stuff like that. Let's go to the maps. I mean, I got a whole 32 ounces of beer to drink. We might as well. Oh, there's Cape May. So there's where the brewery we were just talking about is. So is Delaware entirely on the Chesapeake Peninsula? Oh, that would make sense. There's Ocean City, Maryland. Did you? Oh, you worked at that location. Wow. Okay, so here's Ocean City. Let's put in, I think it's all O's, right? Rehoboth. Oh, Funland. Yeah, they had like a... Is that still there? That arcade with like the haunted houses and everything? Oh, Rehoboth Beach. Yeah, remember they had the, let's go to satellite. Those big wooden lifeguard chairs back in the day. Probably, who knows if they do anymore, but... How close are those two? My brother went out there a few years ago and was sending us pictures. Hit Ocean City and Rehoboth. Yeah, so it's all the outer Barrier Island type places. So we must have just drove right up the... Huh, interesting. When you're a kid, you don't think about geometry or anything like that. Or geometry? Geography? Cheers. We were in, this is a story, but we were in Rehoboth and we had walked out on the beach. I think we went like midway through the day is what we would do. Cause like I said, I remember sitting in those lifeguard chairs and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, do they have street? Where do you get that little? Oh yeah. Yeah, the boardwalk and everything. Okay. It's like in the center of town, I think where Dogfish Head ended up being, like, right, there's a couple blocks of like activity around around the beach. I was walking around town, checking it out, and I think my sister and my mom were you know, they had gone in some store that the dudes didn't care about, right? So we're kind of wandering around, and there's this bar, and it's just like packed, and it's got like, it's like, let's see if it must be like this way, right? Yeah, just totally packed. It's like the place that's happening. Yeah, so it's like what? There's like 3 or 4 blocks of beach type restaurants, bars. And it was called the Blue Moon. And like my dad's like, the Blue Moon? He's like, that's the place to be. And then we're like staring at, oh yeah, my cousins had come up from Florida who are a little older than us. And we're like, it's all dudes. Like everyone at this place, it's all dudes. And my one cousin was like, well, anything with blue in the name, he's like, I think it's a gay bar. And my dad's like, maybe it's just guys' night out. And I just remember that, maybe it's just guys' night out. Like, does that, I mean, we have all had guys' night out, but clearly not what was going on at this place. It was, and just being a kid, and like, that's something that you've never comprehended, and it's all like kind of getting thrown around in your head at that time. And that was Rehoboth, which is my weird memory of Rehoboth from being a kid. Double Dragon, heck yeah. Gonna use that phrase, guys' night out. Why won't it? I don't know why I can't. It just keeps going back to these same people in the. I wanted to go down that street. How do I? I was never that good at video games. Speaking of video games, you won't believe what I got hooked up the other day. Now, if you were playing Double Dragon as a kid in the arcade, this is before your time, but this is my original Atari 2600. I had brought it to the studio with me when I moved here. We got it in, my brother got it in 1982. I was born in 78, so I would have been like 4 years old. But I've hooked it up a number of times, and I have a Fire TV. Yeah. And so I was trying to figure out, how do you get it hooked up into a Fire TV? It has coaxial, and I have the old antenna UHF VHF adapter to coaxial was in the box with the Atari. And but we plug it in, and we can't get it. On the Atari, you have channels 2 or 3 as the option, and there's no feedback from Atari. There's no LED lights. There's no sound. There's nothing. So you're like, oh, I've plugged the things in. I've done the thing. So what we ended up doing, we did a channel scan. It doesn't find anything, and then in the menu system, we see there's the option for an analog channel scan. It's going through everything, and it's like found one channel, channel 2. Flipped to channel 2, and the Atari comes on, and we were just in heaven. I don't just have my collection of games. I have like collections that I've picked up from other people now over the years where I've had it hooked up before. So I think Combat is the best 2-player game that Atari ever made. It's funny that now the pictures on an Atari game actually, modern video games look better than these, but yeah. Mine's what's called the tank. Oh yeah, there's Tank Command, and then there was later one called Battle Zone, and then there was Robot Tank. Yeah, but there was just Tank. I love the games. Yeah, they're all just like named what they are. Yeah. Oh, is the Blue Moon still there? You said it's like 4 blocks up that street, or would that be the Dogfish Head? I remember the owner of Dogfish Head, Sam something. Sam, he actually had a show on Discovery for one season, and it was really cool. And they would go and brew some really unique beers at the Rehoboth location. It was just called like Beer something, the show. I think they were just a little bit ahead of their time with that. I think that would have been huge now, and he's such an interesting character. I think it was just too early, but Double Dragon. I was thinking Street Fighter. Double Dragon is Nintendo era. Double Dragon is NES, original NES. The home system version would be. Yeah, Street Fighter first was Super Nintendo, which was much later. Yeah, these came out, Atari, late 70s. Mine's a little later. Battle Zone. You know Battle Zone? Hell yeah. Where did I put the games away? I kept them out here somewhere, but yeah. It's cleaning up because this is my workplace. This is, I don't know if it'll even show up on here, but when I'm up here, this is literally my photography studio. So that's what I was saying about it being two places. You could see that arch. That's where we do like the product photography and stuff like that. I have this camera on one of these magic arms, so attached to my desk right now for this. Sorry. Yeah, Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. And I was always more of a Street Fighter guy than Mortal Kombat. I thought like that 2D, that flatness of Mortal Kombat looks stupid, but I preferred the cartoonness, the like anime style of Street Fighter. Huh. I can't even believe I'm talking to someone who knows about the blue moon. I mean, obviously, Dogfish Head is blown up and they're super successful and known about. Everyone knows Dogfish Head if you like craft beer, as you should. They make great beer. But Street Fighter had better gameplay, especially for the home systems. The Super Nintendo version of Street Fighter was way better than Mortal Kombat. But I have some friends who would fight me for that, what I just said. So, you know. The Atari, one of my friends commented when I had posted a couple Instagram stories when we got it to work. And he's like, did you play it for like 10 minutes and get bored of it? And I'm like, no, that's not how Atari works. Like, Atari is unending. Like, most of those games you just play over and over again. You never beat them. They don't change, but they're like, especially with two players, they're like so fun. Combat, like especially, it was like, we kept doing the airplane games like over and over again. Or if you remember, there's like a tank game where you like bounce. The bullets are actually bouncy and you're like trying to get in that right position. And then now being even older and smarter, you're like, it's like pool. You're calculating the angles. Guile. I felt like Guile was weak. Ryu, yeah, Ken. Ken was the same guy. I like to use Ken. But I like that we are talking simultaneously about Rehoboth Beach and old arcade games. Well, I think that's how we came up with this topic, right? On the map here, too, I have like a saltwater taffy place on, which I always remember. Whoops. This is what happens when I forget, when I drink too much and touch my software instead of the browser. There we go. Whoa! Oh, there we go. Now we're walking down the street. Let's see if we can. I keep forgetting I have the internet. I could see anything I want. I don't, you know. Nothing against asking, you know, but. Why'd it do that on me? Let's get to... Did I get into like bullshit Bing Map somehow? Why is this such a pain? Let's get back to Google Maps. Like I said on Tuesday, if anyone watches these in replay where they can't see the chat, you know, well, they can't see the chat. I can only imagine what this would seem like. Oh, so their big one isn't that far away. Oh, it is, so it is right in off the beach. It was showing too. They were showing a. Where's that little guy you throw on there? Oh, wow. It threw us right into the bar. The original game cartridge that came with the Atari had like 10 games on it. Ours came with Combat. Again, like this was not the earliest version, you know, the wood paneled one. Mine's called the Darth Vader model. And the earlier ones were 6 switchers, where... Should we get real nerdy, guys? So with this Atari, it's the Darth Vader 4 switcher, so there's 4 switches here, but the other 2 switches are on the back. Here. The earliest ones had all the switches on the front. Yeah, that dude's pissed. He's pissed Google Maps got up, and I have a cousin who actually taught me a bunch about photography. I did early photography gigs with him, who now does like interiors for Google Maps, so you could come right in the door. His stuff looks 1,000 times better than this. I'm wondering if this is like early. Oh, this is just some guys. Let's see. Yeah, what's this? It keeps showing. I don't know. Google Maps having a little trouble here. Let's go out on the street and see what the outside looks like. Oh, so I wonder if these are more modern ones. Is the like? I can imagine they would have built a more tourist one over the years. Oh, did I ever say that? Yeah, yeah. That mine came with Combat, and it does have it has like the tank games, the flight games, and all that kind of stuff. And then we had Pac-Man right away too, which people were really mad about the way Pac-Man looked compared to the arcade. We played that the other day, but again, it was just such a blast. So let's see. What? I don't want to go to the. I want to go maps. How do you guys keep letting me type in the wrong things? It is still there. Amazing. The box with my Atari for years had the original Game Boy in it. I think I ended up giving it to my sister, and she let her kids play. We had an early enough Game Boy that it took the 8 AA's, right? I know they shrunk it down a number of times. Yeah, that's what it does look different outside, and I don't think I'm right up on it because there was a wraparound balcony, which is or wraparound patio, which is what I remember. But who knows? I mean, let's try and back up. So used to my phone, I'm looking like for the recenter button. Oh man, this is quite the trip down memory lane. The red awning, man. Let's start this over. Zoom me in, bro. Oh, there it is. It just looks like a house. I don't even have it on the screen. You can't even see what I'm... Yeah, this is... So this is quarantine YouTube version of Guys Night Out at the Blue Moon. Yep, that's exactly what is happening. I don't know. I think the guys at the Blue Moon were having a better time. Steamin' Blues Crab House. Is everything just blue around there now? Gotta remember, the internet's forever. I can't say the stupid shit I normally would. I mean, I'm saying a lot of stupid shit, but I mean, I had to be like 10 years old. I'm not gonna remember. The first anchor, huh? See, I picture a place like this on the second floor. It was just like this wrap around, you know, people having a good time. Oh, what's this guy got in the truck? I miss these beach towns. They were so exciting. Q Wham Christmas album. Kind of the stuff I avoid now, but seems so cool when you're a kid, huh? Last Christmas. If I sing, will I get a copyright strike? Like, will YouTube recognize the melody from my voice? I know cover bands have a hard time on YouTube because they can't show it. They can't post or monetize anything. Did I tell you guys on Tuesday I fought a copyright strike because I got the I got a song off the Free Music Archive website, and it had the Creative Commons license, and I linked. The only thing was that you link back to it, which I always do, and when I put the video up, it got a copyright, like not a strike because I'm not monetized, so I can actually put whatever I want up for the most part, but it just annoyed me that I'm like, no, I got this through like all the right rules. So I actually contested it and it got taken, they corrected it. So yeah. Not a big deal. Like a, what do they call that? A victory, a moral victory, you know. That's one of the things I would like to, so I'm in like the 700s now, but so if you get to 1,000, you could monetize your channel. To me, the thing wouldn't be to monetize. I'm not going to make money at that level. It'd be like royalties on a local record. But it would be nice to then be whatever money that would be made, whatever few dollars, I would just use that to like buy songs. So basically to pay people so I could use good music on the videos, you know. Artists should be paid, but I can't afford to buy music for videos that I'm doing already that I'm probably spending way too much time on. I've never gone to a beach town in the off season. Ben says it's fun to go to those spots in the off season. I always used to think about that, and it's probably one of my problems in life is I think too much. But even as a kid, I would think of like, what is this place like in the winter? Because going out to Ocean City, we weren't really going, or even Rehoboth, we weren't going south. We were just going straight across, the beaches that are straight across from here in Ohio, right? So we were talking a little bit about Maine last week because someone from, you're from Maine, yeah. But that same thing, how like the locals liked the winter, but being in a beach town like this, like a touristy beach town, like our, this Delaware, but even like a New Jersey style beach town, I always wondered what that would be like in the winter. Whereas, like New York or something, like I've been to New York in the winter, but that's not beach, you don't like, I don't know. I've been out even to Coney Island in the winter. I don't know what Coney Island's like in the summer, but yeah, I gotta imagine some of these are, they're not year round. Here in Akron, we have these, they're not in Akron, but just south of Akron, the Portage Lakes. And it's a place we ride in the summer, especially in normal years, but still go out there, and they're bars with these pretty views, and they kind of have this kind of beach vibe, and all the lakes are connected so they can take their boats everywhere, and they dock up and they get off and have a few beers because, you can't drink on the boats and all that kind of stuff. But most of them are cool anyways, and like they stay open year round, but nobody like goes to them. They die off, and I'm like, but these are still all neighborhoods around here, and it's so weird to me that people stop going completely. Because to me, it seems like it'd be enough to like, you shrink your staff, only the indoor space is open, because in the summer everyone's going to the patio. Like same with here in Rehoboth. I bet if we zoom out, it's still like a city, right? Like these people don't, I mean, obviously like a candy shop or whatever, but right, you're off here, and these are, I mean, this is residential, right? These people don't go grab a drink in the winter. Oh yeah, look, this is a subdivision. This is a subdivision, all subdivisions, right? Yeah, huge subdivisions, way dwarfing the size of the little tourist town, all the way down this main road. I don't know, I guess that's something to me that because all the places, and I don't know if it happened, I assume it's probably your long standards and stuff like that, but around here, like the places on the lake, they change hands, a lot of them change hands a number of times in my lifetime, so. Slaughter Beach. Yeah, I've been up and down the East Coast. That's what we did. Saying that, Ben saying it depends on the tourism. If there's enough draw year round, you could stay open. Otherwise, most places are local hangouts. And back then, Rehoboth was super quiet and peaceful in the winter, and you could have all the cool things to yourself. Now it's much more of a year-round community. That's kind of happened in general, right? Even up on Lake Erie, some of the towns that are farther away from Cleveland, originally some of the cool spots like Catawba and stuff like that were like cottages, and they were just people's second homes. They weren't heated. They were, just wood framed, but now they've been like framed in and they've turned into neighborhoods. So I don't know, lots of different dynamics. Some areas have done that and become almost high end and expensive. And then you have other places, like at least around us, and I would imagine the East Coast could be similar, who knows, much more crowded, but that have become like gutted, and they are like, stereotypical, meth, Oxycontin pandemic towns, like blighted, horribly blighted. So right, the rich gate off their community, especially I don't know, here in the north, northeast Ohio, and pretend to be oblivious to what goes on outside 10 miles down the road. So should I get on my soapbox like I do once in a while? Man, I can't wait to be able to travel again. Just looking at a map. Whoops. Said touching on the software. Really want to go back to New York. Love New York City. Mr. Fong's. Oh, it shows up because I've been there. Chinatown is where I've stayed the last few times I've gone. Low-key bar with Chinese-inspired snacks. It was also totally punk rock, which is why I totally liked it. I felt like Johnny Thunder's song, being in there. Yeah, so we stayed right down the street from there. The neighborhood here was called Two Bridges because the two bridges, Manhattan and Brooklyn. Dead Rabbit, that was a cool spot, one of the older bars in New York City. First bike trip when things calmed down. So, obviously that's how we traveled this summer, so we did do bike trips, overnighters and then Ohio to Erie and stuff like that. But actually, getting out of town, like driving or flying somewhere with the bike, I don't know. Like I was showing last week, we went to Paris-Roubaix. Aaron's been dying to get back to France. That's always a money issue with me. It depends on how things are going. But I was saying I would love to go to Provence and do bike packing over there in southern France. That would be amazing. More realistically, one of our good friends is a metal sculptor, and he rides with us. He's in a bunch of my videos, the industrial gravel ones, where he's the one lighting off of the fireworks, if you watch those. But he moved to LA, and he is making a better living doing his sculpting out there. And that's what we were hoping to do this winter, was go out there and stay with him. And he was like, I even have friends where I know places where I could rent us an Airbnb. He's like, bring the gravel bikes. We could ride up into the, Hollywood Hills and all those awesome paths you see on Pathless Pedal when he was out in LA, and Terry was just out, Terry Berenson was just out west. So I think that would be the most realistic first trip to do. The thing is, I don't want to do that in the summer because the summer is the nice time here. I want to do that in the winter, when I want to get out of this situation. Gravel map website? No, I haven't. No. I get a lot of inspiration from other YouTubers who live places I don't, and that's definitely why my friend Mike, who, like I said, is living out in LA now, I've sent him a bunch of videos to be like, have you ridden this? This is right outside of town. And he actually asked me for a link the other day. He was like, what was that one you sent me? I remember we did a couple family trips, with my brothers and sisters all have kids, and that was the thing too. We went to the beach once, and then they were saying my parents were like, we don't want to do this in the summer anymore. Why go to the beach in the summer when this is the nice time to be in Ohio? And that's really kind of become one of my things. It's riding Ohio to Erie. Let's ride our bikes in Ohio when it's nice. So I said nothing's gonna stop me ever, but yeah, to get on an airplane and go somewhere, it's the winter is, let's do that in the winter, right? So you guys still sticking with the drinks you've been drinking? Anyone switch it up? I need to figure out too. I think I could pull the chat into my software so I don't have to go to 2 different screens. I've seen other people do that, but yeah, so I think Los Angeles, LA region. I've never been to California either. So, and I'm always blown away by when people do make videos out there. They pass like a couple people, but I'm like, it's one of the densest like metropolitan areas in the world. Like, you know, there's millions and millions of people spread out, but then you just go like a few miles up into the, you know, the hills, and it's like a paradise that you have all to yourself with all these awesome gravel roads, you know. You really want to do Ohio to Erie in the dead of winter? That's got to be a joke, right? If I did something, I'm not saying I couldn't, but man, that long, like I was saying on Tuesday, when it's below 25, I have like an hour, hour and a half, and then no matter what, I'm just, my hands and feet are getting cold, and I'm not happy. Because I go out on the towpath, I'll ride down to Barberton, I'll do a 20-mile, 30-mile round trip. Dead serious, huh? I just can't imagine. I mean, I guess it depended on how long a days you want to do too. Back to Miller Lite. I don't think I could do long days in the saddles in the cold, in the very cold. 30s, probably. I get away with 30s, mid to upper 30s. But then if it rained, 50 miles a day, the cold rain. So Akron Ben and then also my friend Micah, they went out on the day before we got all the snow here. So what was that, Monday? They both did like 25, 30 miles, like in like 37-degree rain. To me, that's just a no-go. I don't do it. Like, I bought a trainer last winter for that reason. I'm like, I will go on Zwift and ride a little bit to get 10, 15 miles in. Wet and cold is the worst thing. I would always rather be below 32, like what I was doing the other night. Yeah, you need insulated bottles to keep them from freezing. Yeah, I do. Man. That would be the thing here. It's so unpredictable. So it's not even like when we were kids and you weren't here, but even in northeast Ohio, it used to it would snow and snow would be on the ground the whole time. Global warming, whatever. I just know when I was a kid, it started snowing in December, and then you had a thaw, like later in the season, then it was spotty. It doesn't even do that anymore. January could go from 19-degree days to 15-degree days to 30, 40-degree days. Just getting caught in the rain when it's cold and then it getting cold again, that takes some serious gear that I don't have. And even going from rain to cold at night, you would think of your bike, a wet bike freezing overnight, right? Because I have that happen on a ride during the night, just when we're in a bar in normal times, and you're trying to bang the ice and get the ice and snow out of your derailleur and everything. Yeah, everything. Definitely would be doing Airbnbs, would not be camping, right? If you did Ohio to Erie in the winter. I can't imagine doing it and then trying to sleep in a tent. The video I have coming out tomorrow about the Trek 4900, I talk about that. What got me into winter riding. Went to do a ride with friends, and we were going to do a challenging because it was cold. Tell this exact same story. But I thought, oh yeah, I could ride my bike and I'm going to tough it out, and I've brought all the right clothes. I was on like the regular mountain bike tires the bike had, and I couldn't keep the thing upright. It's before I knew about studded tires and all that. So I did not make it, and it wasn't because of the weather. It was just because the bike couldn't do it. And that's the other thing is, man, when I ride in the winter, 10 miles in the winter is, if there's a lot of snow, is like what, 15, 20 miles? And it's like double. You're putting out double the effort to get through that, even when you have the right equipment. Now that I do have my old mountain bike set up with the studded 45 North tires, and I could keep it upright and I could ride through the snow and the slush and the ice, I just know how exhausting it is. Camping, wow. You're tougher than me. And that's what I was telling Ben and them when they're out in the rain. I'm like, you guys are just tougher than me. Like, that's all there is to it. Like, I do not want to risk being wet and cold and then just too cold for too long. I just have a big flask of whiskey. A flask wouldn't hold enough whiskey for that kind of traveling. Man, that's badass. I mean, it's absolutely badass. Facts. Yeah, we did, and we won't be able to do it this year, but we do a thing called XMAS, which is our winter ride. And before we rode year round, because now pretty much everyone in my group rides year round on Wednesdays, it would just be this thing where we're going to go out and get freezing cold. The first year I did it on my Peugeot, but on 32s, I think I probably got it. Let's see. Last year we rented, it was like 17, 18. We rode down to Magic City Brewing down the towpath, but then we went up into an old abandoned rubber factory above Missing Falls, actually, and kind of cruised around in there, which was pretty fun. It was so cold, and I had so many layers of. I had my wool gloves, fleece gloves, and my lobster gloves that I wasn't even able to film like any of the GoPro when we were actually riding out to the brewery or anything. Let's see if I could. Oh, there we go. I'm gonna hit the bathroom with just a little of last year's Ratsmas, riding in an abandoned rubber factory, and also using the morph cut and some weird effects.
Is this how we get out of here? Yeah. I was going the wrong way. Oh, you were going the wrong way back there. This is the same forward.
Our duathlons, that's riding and running. My brother was a triathlete growing up. Actually had the first time I ever saw a carbon bike. It's the one he had. That's Mike on screen who's out in LA now. This is a shop he worked at a little bit.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I thought you guys were going to chime in. I was waiting. Well, it's got to be late, right? 10:50. We've done almost 2 hours tonight. That's what happens when you crack a crowler of Missing Falls Bravo Zulu sour at 10 to 10, right? Anyways, I better get going. And you guys should probably get going too, right? Tuesday, back down in the, let's get back down in the shop. Finish building that Barry Hoban, I hope. I should, be able to drill that out on, draw out that brake bridge and, yeah, run cables. I got the rear wheel and I did put the rear wheel in. Yonda was right. Steel. He was like, it's close enough. Just spread it. So, yeah. Do have, like I said, dropping a video on my truck, my old hardtail truck from 2001 tomorrow morning. And then I've got this. I think I talked, if you guys followed on Instagram, someone actually sent me a bar end bike mirror to review on YouTube. And the email was in an interesting form of poor English. Don't want to make fun of anyone, but heck, if someone's going to send me something, I'll review it. So there'll be a video about this. I've never ridden with a mirror in my life, but I guess might as well learn now. So, all right, guys. Yeah. See ya. Peace.